So while we're on the topic of movies I had in my VHS rotation as a child because I was kind of a weird kid, today we have the 98 film Mouse Hunt, starring Nathan Lane. In my personal thoughts, this was Ratatouille before Ratatouille. Let me explain. So if you've never seen Mouse Hunt, it's about these two brothers who have recently lost their dad. Well, their dad owned a string factory, and they inherited the string factory, and then they inherited, like, this rundown mansion. Well, one brother was a chef who had, like, an unfortunate incident with a roach and the mayor died, so his restaurant got closed down. And then the other brother wanted to take over the yarn factory, and his wife left him, so he didn't have anywhere to live. So since both of them were homeless, they went up to the abandoned house, and while they were in there, they found the blueprints. And come to find out, this house was made by, like, this architect in 1875, so it's a 100-year-old house. And apparently it goes for a whole lot of fucking money. We're talking starting $600,000 in the 1970s. I might stand corrected. So the thing is, the house was built in 1876. Now, when he called it a centennial house, I thought he meant it was a centennial from where it was built, which would be 1976. But I was like, the background doesn't match for 1976. That doesn't make sense. But now I realize he may have meant a centennial house from 1776 to 1876. So it's probably back to the 20s or 30s. So, okay, my original thought, okay. So no, it wasn't the 70s, and it didn't match the culture of the 70s, so I was very confused. Anyway, this house is going for big fucking money on auction, provided they can, like, renovate. Then there's a couple of problems to this. One, they don't have any money. Two, they fucking suck at house renos. I watched this guy put in a baseboard. He must have put in 1,000 fucking nails in one baseboard. I don't claim to be a contractor, but I did install my own baseboards. And no, there's not like 20 trillion nails. And number three, there's a mouse. Candy, it's a whole mansion. What kind of problems can a mouse cause? The mouse is sentient and might be a psychopath. So here's the deal. It is smart. It is extremely smart. It avoided one trap, and so they set up the entire kitchen full of traps, and it climbed up on the fridge around the traps and threw a Rainier cherry over that set off all the traps. So instead, the guys got hit with all the mouse traps, and the mouse was fine. And then they adopted a cat named Catzilla, which got yeeted in the dumbwaiter, which was honestly very sad. But also, I do believe that I could have tamed Catzilla. Give me a week, that cat would be eating shrimp and snuggling. And then Christopher Walken shows up as a pest control specialist, and the rat tried to kill him and lock him in a trunk in the attic, which is interesting because the owner of the house died from being locked in a trunk in an attic, so presumably the mouse killed the owner. Well, then the mouse is playing dead, and they put him in a cigar box and tried to ship him to, I think, Cuba. But Cuba's like, there's not enough postage, so they sent him back. And it's the day of the auction, and the auction's up to $20 million. And I guess it's 1920s money, 1930s money, somewhere in there. But lo and behold, the mouse is back, and then the brothers are trying to take down the mouse while everything's going on. And so for the final straw, they decide to run a hose into the fucking walls of the house and try to, like, flush him out, but it destroys the house. And so with all bets off, this house is destroyed. They don't have any money. All they have is the yarn factory. But they're like, at least we're rid of the mouse. But alas, they were not rid of the mouse. The mouse hitched a ride on the bottom of their car. Then he went into the yarn factory and put a wheel of, I think it was Gouda, into the yarn maker, and it made string cheese. So instead of making string, they outfitted the string factory to make string cheese, and they made monies. And the one guy got back together with his wife, and the other guy is basically a cheese chef or a cheesemonger, whatever you want to call him. And so is the little mouse. And the little mouse hangs out on his shoulder with a tiny chef hat. And there we have Ratatouille Part 1. The end. Yes, it stood the test of time. And what's crazy is it, for being just a children's movie in the 90s, nothing spectacular, it has gorgeous cinematography. Like, these visuals are some of the best I've ever seen, which, again, sounds weird for some almost no-name kids movie. But then again, I can't even call it a kids movie because I don't even know if it really is a kids movie. Like, the visuals are nice enough that it got my 3-4-year-old attention. And there's a sentient mouse. But the movie, for 9/10 of it, are two adult men doing hijinks, and even one or two adult situations. You would think kids would be bored, that there's so much to look at, you don't get bored. You know, it's a little tiny mouse. I think maybe give it a 10 out of 10. This was fun. Okay, 10 out of 10. Okay, bye. I don't know enough French to sing the Ratatouille song.